everyone, this is krmorrighan and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a really sensitive subject, which is accepting criticism about your writing and also being productive with that criticism. It can be really difficult to accept criticism about your writing because writing is incredibly personal. When you write a story, you create the characters, you create the setting, and you create the events, you create the plot. And even if it's a realistic setting, or even if it's based on true people, true facts, if it's a biography or something like that, it is still your personal vision and your take on the events. So it's you, it is a piece of you in that writing. So it's when people criticize your writing, is kind of like you personally are getting criticized. Like with any other thing that you put time and effort into, you put a part of yourself into all that work. So if someone criticizes you, it can feel really personal. When it comes to accepting criticism about your writing, one of my first big pieces of advice is to think carefully about who you choose to read your writing. The people I would recommend to go to first with your writing are either people who you really trust a lot, really close family, friends, your partner, significant other, or other writers who you would meet somewhere where the action of criticism is reciprocal. And by that I mean something like a writing workshop where everybody brings pieces for everyone to look at, or possibly someone who you exchange pieces with online. You look at their writing, they look at your writing, something like that, so that there's a sense of balance. And also, especially if there's a large group, that's really best because you're getting multiple opinions, and a bunch of people might have an opinion about a character and they might say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that. And you can't do all of those things usually, but a lot of times all of those suggestions they're making are rooted in one central problem. So there's something the character's not doing, there's some role they're not playing, there's some emotion they're not getting across, there's something. And if you can look at all those comments you've got and think about what caused all those comments, then you can get at the source and do what you need to do as a writer. So the actual suggestions you get, I would kind of throw those out the window and think about the actual problem itself and then decide how you want to solve it. Another thing is to understand where criticism comes from. When somebody critiques your piece, they are doing you a service. If they are extremely nice to you and don't point out any of the problems that you're having, then you're not improving as a writer and your piece isn't improving. And it's not just about making better writing, it's about becoming a better writer. On the flip side of that, there is something I found that is really helpful, which is critiquing other people's writing and not only giving them criticisms, but finding praises to give them as well. That improves you as a writer because I've actually found that some pieces of writing for me it's been really hard for me to find the good things as I'm so focused on the things I need to change. And you think really hard about what is good, what, is giving a story a solid foundation. You have to use your writer's brain to kind of look through the piece and dissect it and decide what you think strengths are. And that actually, the criticisms, yes, that requires you to think and decide, okay, like what needs to be changed, but creating those positive comments actually makes your brain do a lot of work as well. When you bring somebody a piece of writing and you have things that you are concerned about, a certain scene, a certain character, something along those lines, do not bring it up until after they have read through the piece. Because if you say, oh, I'm concerned about XYZ, and then they read it, they are going into that with certain assumptions that those things are weak, that those things need changes. They might focus just on those things and not look at other things that they would have noticed normally. So it ruins some of the organicness of the piece, of their interpretation of the piece, rather. So always bring up certain questions after rather than before, so you're not influencing their thoughts or opinions. Not all of your writing is going to be equal to itself. And by that I mean sometimes you're going to have pieces that just aren't as good, or things you're trying out and it just doesn't work, or sometimes something comes so easily and then you have a long time where everything's kind of difficult to write. It's okay. Allow yourself to have fluctuation in your abilities. As long as you're constantly pushing yourself and constantly trying and don't give up, you're going to improve. You will over time. There will be setbacks along the way, possibly. For whatever reason, it happens. One last thing I will say about criticism in any fields. This goes for writing, but it also goes for anything else that you're going to be learning, is that as you start to learn, you reach certain thresholds. So if you bring in a piece, everyone's like, wow, this is really good, blah, blah, blah. That's really good for the level you're writing at. And other writers can tell. They can say, oh, this person is still at the point where they have to work on some of the more basic things. And then maybe you see those same people a couple months later, and before they were like, wow, this is really great because for the level you were at, it's really great. You come back in with something that's kind of pushing up to the next level, and you get a lot of criticism. And it's because you have to get criticized in order to push you, in order to really get you up to that next point. Alright, so I'm trying to make shorter videos, so I have a kind of mix of short and long videos. The next few videos I'm going to make are probably going to be shorter. I just realizing that all the videos I'm making are coming out really long, and that's just because I'm a really long-winded person. I'll just talk forever until somebody stops me, and there's nobody here to stop me. It's just me, so I can talk for hours. Sometimes I do. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, and my WordPress blog. I'll link everything else below. I do have editing services and ebooks available, so you can check that all out in the description. I would love to know if you have really great experiences with criticism you would like to share, or really terrible experiences with criticism you would like to share, and maybe we could have a little bit of discussion about that and get that going. Thanks so much for watching. Keep reading and keep loving. Bye!